Well, she sneaks around the world from India to Carolina. She's a sticky-fingered filcher from Berlin down to Belize. She'll take you for a ride on a slow boat to China. Tell me, where in the world is
Carmen San Diego?
Steal their
Candlelights and empty souls quietly behind the doors are bleeding us just for fun. Men of power telling lies with shifty hands and thirsty eyes, and they can smell your fear like blood. Oh, my weary soul, we met your kind before. Set fire to us all, and oh, sweet Providence, come save us from ourselves, from hell and consequence.
Welcome back to Providence Tonight with your host, Io Torrance. I'm back after taking quite a while off. It's probably been a season. I think the last show we did, we were recapping halfway through last season. And so we've had a whole season since then, and we're going to just probably start off here recapping or capping off this last season, season 42, and looking ahead at season 43, see where the Providence Crabs are the last couple seasons into a preview of this coming season. So stick with me, Io Torn, as we go through Pro Baseball Experience, season 42. So let's jump ahead and see how season 42 ended in the standings, starting with the Legends Conference East, as the New York Voyagers finished the season 70-38 with an excellent record. Buffalo Surge climbing up the ranks, 69-39. Outer Banks Aviators, 67-41. And the Providence Crabs, 59-49, a down year for them. Over in the west side, we have the Toronto Pathfinders taking the conference at 67-41 record. San Antonio Sloths 47-61, Vancouver 41-67, and the Boise Raptors 32-76. All right, now let's take a look at the Legends Conference wildcard. So obviously over in the East, the New York Voyagers take the conference and thus are the number one seed in the Legends. On the west side, the Toronto Pathfinders take the division, but have actually the third best record in the Legends Conference, still tied for third, as Buffalo Surge and Outer Banks Aviators. Buffalo Surge 69-39, Outer Banks 67-41 will also be hitting that wild card ahead of Providence, who just couldn't quite get it this season. So we'll have the New York Voyagers, the Pathfinders, the Surge, and the Aviators in the playoffs. Let's go over to the Champions Conference in the East as the Lunar Base Space Rangers take the division with a league best 75-33 record. Detroit Demons at 64-44, Indianapolis Apex 46-62, and the Nashville Stars at 36-72. Over on the west of the Champions Conference, we have the Death Valley Scorpions finishing 72-36, Cancun 65-43, Seattle Sea Serpents 39-69, and the unfortunate New Orleans Rougarou only winning 15 and losing 93. And now that we wrapped up the standings and we have our teams in the playoffs, we have a playoff to go with. But before we do that, let's look at some of our individual league leaders and stats. The league leader in average went to Cole Kim of OBX, who batted a astounding .357 average, with John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt of Cancun going .318, and Torch Denstro of Buffalo going .317. League leader in home runs was a tie between Cali Alvarez of Lunar Base and Max Power of DVS, both with 31. John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt at 30, and several more tied at 30. League leader in RBI, we have Bob Babbertson of OBX with 98, Max Power DVS 97, and Cali Alvarez of Lunar Base at 88. Oh, wait, and look, John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt of Cancun right there at 82, good for fourth place. Over on the pitching side, the league leader in wins was a tie between Gatsby Jones of DVS with 16 and Allegra McArena of Lunar Base with 16. League leaders in our ERA went to Quentin Quarters of Detroit with a 244. Allegra McArena from Lunar Base going 268. And Ratatatata Toronto going 272. Yeah, I'm not going to try that one. League leaders in strikeouts. Bazooka Joe of Buffalo, 225 strikeouts. Jethro Tull, an old teammate of mine from Seattle, 207. And Mayo Hooper of Buffalo, 205. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the playoffs. And over here in the Legends Conference, in the first round, we have the Outer Banks Aviators taking on the New York Voyagers, and the Buffalo Surge taking on Toronto Pathfinders. And the champions, we have Detroit taking on Lunar Base, and Cancun taking on Death Valley. And in the first matchup, Outer Banks takes the win, 12-6 versus New York, and Buffalo takes the win 6-4 over Toronto. Lunar Base is able to get a hedge over Detroit 5-4, and 11-8 Cancun to get that first win. So some of the early matchups, the underdogs take the win. In the second match here, Outer Banks takes on New York, and New York finally evens the series 1-1, as does Toronto, winning 5-3 over Buffalo, going to 1-1. Detroit takes a win over Lunar Base, taking it to 1-1, 7-4, and Death Valley gets a win, 8-5. So now we're all pretty much even. New York takes a game at 11-2 over Outer Banks in a blowout, and Toronto wins 7-5 over Buffalo. Lunar Base takes a blowout win, 8-1 against Detroit, and Cancun wins 5-3 in the closest matchup of that day. New York takes the series 6-3 in the final game here. Toronto also 7-0 to blowout. Lunar Base 5-3, and Cancun wins 2-1, and that takes us to New York taking on Toronto for the Legends. Cancun taking on Lunar Base in the Champions Division. In the first matchup, New York takes a slim early 1-0 lead with a win of 4-3. And Lunar Base goes 4-0. So Lunar Base and New York up each one a game apiece. Toronto evens the series at 1-1 with a win of 6-4 against New York, whereas Lunar Base takes a 2-0 lead, 6-2 against Cancun. And then we got a Toronto taking a 2-1 lead over New York, a 6-3 score. And Cancun finally getting a win, going to one now is one game closer of 1-2 against Lunar Base, 5-1. Toronto evens the series now with a win over New York of 6-2 in the runs, with Cancun even in the series 4-3 against Lunar Base. So it's a tight champions conference, well, Legends and Champions conference matchup. New York gets it 3-1 to take it to 3-1 series, and Lunar Base also takes it 5-0, 3-2 now. New York wins the series 4-3 in a slim last game effort here, so they move on to the championship, whereas Lunar Base also gets a win here 4-1 over Cancun. And now we're I'm sorry, I missed a game. New York wins. Spoiler alert. As Lunar Base took it 4-2, and New York took it 4-3. So now we have our championship locked up, ready to go, with New York representing the Legends and Lunar Base taking on the champions. I think Lunar Base is sort of a slim favorite in this matchup, but New York is more recent at winning these things, so I think they got...
Another shot, and out away. Fly ball down the right field line. Tucker comes on. Kyle Tucker. This time they finish the job. That ball is hammered to left center field. Goodbye. Looking toward the gap, bucks it over, and a leaping catch.
A solid shot here, and they do. They take the first match from 3-0 with a shutout win by Anthony Parco. J.R. Frankenstero took a home run for New York, and they win 3-0. In the second matchup, Lunar Base evens the score 1-1 as they're at home here, and they win 5-3 with the winning pitcher right into Ert. New York's Arrow Cove got another home run, but wasn't enough as Lunar Base takes it 5-3. We then go to Game 3 with New York taking the win. Now at home, they win 2-1 in a slim game. Xavier Crawford gets the win. Parker Ness gets the save. No home runs in this game. It was a tight pitching matchup. 2-1, New York up in the series. New York takes another one, 7-3, with winning pitcher Romeo Rosas, who's 2-0 in the playoffs. New York had a couple of home runs with New York Voyagers, Keifel Cove and Franklin DeMars with home runs as they win 7-3. And there it is, folks. 3-2 victory. New York is crowned champions. Winning pitcher Pete Williams, losing pitcher Alexander Benjamin. Lunar Base did have a home run, as did in New York. TGP as fourth home run of the playoffs as we crown our champions, the New York Voyagers, season 42 champs. And that will do it. Season 42 in the books. Champions, New York Voyagers. Runner-up, Lunar Base, Space Rangers. Providence doesn't make the playoffs, unfortunately. And we have to wait until next year, or next season, season 43, which is actually right around the corner as we are all getting set up. Regression's starting to hit, and folks are getting revved up for season 43. And Pax Torrance is starting to see the end at the light at the end of the tunnel, with only maybe a few seasons left. But that's for another video, another story. Let's go ahead and put a nice big bow on season 42. Thanks for listening. If you made it all the way through these 12 minutes, you're an absolute superstar. Absolute wrecking machine, and I appreciate you. Grader, please grade mercifully. I need some money for Hall of Fame equipment for this season. But that's all I have to say. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of IO's Providence Tonight show. Hopefully I get another video in soon. Hopefully it doesn't take another season and a half. Hopefully, we'll see you next time. Have a good evening. Have a good Halloween. Oh, and be on the lookout for IO's Halloween stories. Coming next. We'll see you. Have a good one.
Would you like to see something strange? Come with us and you will see. It's our Halloween.